Hello, hi everybody. Hopefully some of you are starting to come through now. Thank you very much for joining our workshop this evening. Welcome. As we have something of an international workshop this evening, then it would be great if you could post in chat where you're joining us from, because I suspect we've got people joining from all over the world. So yes, if you're just joining now, please settle in and let us know where you. Oh yeah, I can see already starting off on a good flurry of the Netherlands and Scotland. How exciting. So if you're just joining us, please post where you're joining us from. I think we're going to have a very good spread around the globe this evening. So I'm Claire from Cult Pens, and our workshop tonight will be led by the fabulous Betty Soldi. She is, well, I don't know if Betty would describe herself like this, but she is described as a wordsmith, a calligrapher, a designer and a creative thinker. What a brilliant list of things. So Betty's going to be talking a little bit about her collaboration with Esterbrook on the Cosmic wine range. Hopefully you can see that. And I will take the pen out of the box, but the box is rather beautiful. So yeah, Betty will be talking a little bit about that in a while, and also her creative process, and I'm sure lots more besides. I'll be handing over to Betty in just a moment, but before I do, I've got the usual bits of housekeeping to cover. So first up, we are recording, but don't panic. All the cameras and sound are off for the duration of the session, for everybody apart from those who are presenting. So don't worry, you're not going to be on camera or on question. If you want to ask a question that you don't want to share with everybody, you can use the QA, and only the hosts and panelists will see that. And we love questions, so please ask away. And I was just checking in with Betty beforehand, and she's very keen for questions and also happy to take some requests. So if anyone has something particularly creative they want to talk about or ask about, then please do. There's two ways you can ask questions. You can use the chat function, and that's at the bottom of the screen, as well as the Q&A function as well. So myself and Anna from the Cult Pens team will be on hand to answer questions, and also Nikki from Studio Pens, who sends us the beautiful Esterbrook pens. So as there are lots of you this evening, please bear with us, because I think we might have quite a lot of questions going on, but we will do our best to get through all of them. And we will also interrupt Betty where we can. So if we can ask your question live to Betty, we will. So if we're not answering it straight away in the chat, it might be because we're going to answer it on ask the question on screen. So do bear with us, and you will hear my voice pop up now and then asking questions as we go through. We think our session's going to last about an hour. Probably depends on how many questions you ask as we go through, but do make yourselves comfortable. So Betty, going to do a little drum roll. If you're ready, I'm going to switch over, and hopefully this will work. Camera technicals. There she is. So Betty, perhaps you'd like to start. If you'd like to start by introducing yourself, everybody, and I think also, perhaps right at the outset, tell us where in the world you are. Just make us all a little bit jealous.
Somewhere with lots of shelves, I think. Buonasera a tutti. I don't know if that's a giveaway. Okay, so I'm coming to you from hot, sticky Florence in Italy, with a rather British accent, though. I know. I'm still part of the grand tour that's still continuing, I think, in Italy. And I am originally from Florence. My family has been hand-making fireworks here since 1869, and they still create fireworks by hand. But for many generations, it's all been males in the family, and then my sister and I were born. And so there was a rethink of, no, the girls will not be playing with gunpowder, alas. And so my family moved to London, which is why I now say that I now make fireworks with ink, so I get my revenge. No, but Stardust is definitely in my veins. And so I've been back in Florence now for 12 years. And I have a design studio. I wonder if I can show you. I don't know. It has loads of shelves. I don't know if you can see it. It's an orangery. It used to house lemons from 1801. And I love this notion, this poetic notion that it was built to protect lemons in the winter when we need to conserve our energies, but then there's a rebirth, there's a flowering, everything happens again. So there's a creative process if I've ever seen one. So yes, so I'm here, and I'm, as you say, I am a graphic designer. I was trained as a graphic designer, and I also studied traditional calligraphy with an amazing teacher called Miriam Stribley at Ravensbourne Design College. And when she saw that you had understood and your hand had understood the memory of traditional calligraphy, she came along and kind of whispered in our ears, and now go modern. And so we could absolutely express ourselves with calligraphy. This was 1 year before computers started being introduced in design colleges. So everything was still done by hand. So I'm old school in that respect. But I came out of college loving this interface between graphic design, typography, and calligraphy. So for many years, I was a packaging designer. That's always been my strength. And for 10 years, I was the external graphic designer for Fortnum & Mason. So if it was edible, fragrant, delicious in any way, it was mine. I think it's quite good to have that as a little package.
That sounds amazing.
So and I've always loved I've always loved the idea of expressing yourself through words. That's what it is. I think it's because I have, I learned English and I learned the love of words because when I moved to London and I was 7, I remember crying in a classroom, not understanding una parola, non capivo niente. There was Italian, not understanding a word. And in this dark blackboard, the teacher got her white chalk and started writing. And for me, it was truly like seeing fireworks in the sky. So there was like a resonance. And I thought, okay, that's something I can connect with. And so I think that's where my love of writing and transmitting who you are came from.
I love that. And so I have your beautiful, actually, I'm just going to share back. I was just letting you speak. Let me just jump back on so hopefully everyone can see. This is the beautiful packaging that you've done. I don't know how well. I've got a blurry background on, and I have to confess it's because the bedroom behind is a little bit messy. But hopefully you can all see. So there's a beautiful packaging that you've done for Cosmic Wine.
Yeah.
And perhaps you'd like to just talk a little bit, and hold it up the right way, about how the collaboration with Esterbrook came about.
Okay, so I've always loved New York. So when an email arrives from that area, I squeal with delight. And Brian contacted me, I think it was a year or two ago, actually, to look at perhaps collaborating on a few different things. And so we started working together on things that are due to come out. They're still in production. And we got along famously. And I think 99% of the work that I get is all about human connection. There are some really brilliant calligraphers, artists, designers out there. Everyone is really good at what they do, but what differentiates you a lot of the time is how you get along with people, right? And thank goodness that that's the way it is. And when that connection is forged, then actually I think everyone gives their best. I remember once when I was in London and I was pitching for a design job, and they called me back and said, "Yes, you've got it, Betty." I'm like, "Yay!" And they started saying, "Just so you know, you weren't the best designer that pitched for this, but we had such a love with you. We are going to enjoy working with you so much. We'd rather have that." So I thought, well, okay. There's brilliance in many ways.
Yes,
but,
exactly. So having been on a call, and I think lots of the people joining won't know Brian from Esterbrook, but he's really the person that leads the business and has brought the brand back to life. And he is a creative ball of energy, which is how I would describe you. So for everyone else, we were on a call with Brian, and he was hoping to join us this evening. He hasn't been able to. And you can tell creative minds collide. So it's fantastic to be able to speak to both of you previously.
No, so there was this mutual admiration, and so he just came back to me not even that long ago, actually, towards the end of last year, maybe. I can't remember. Time has literally taken a time cosmic warp, but and just said, "Betty, we're thinking of launching this beautiful new product, and would you be? It has starlicious things happening. Let's have a look."
There we go. Oh, yeah. So this, I think, let me just check what size. Not that it's I've got a fine, which would be my nib size of choice, but I don't know how well it's a dark red. Well, it's a red wine red, isn't it? So I hope some of you noted on the invite that you are allowed to bring wine if you so desire. I brought a wine glass up, but I didn't put wine in because I had visions of spilling it on the laptop. But there is sparkles and diamond dust in here, which gives it an absolutely beautiful finish. You can't, I'm not really doing it justice on the camera here, but
no, it's rather wonderful, and
get a bit of
I've always
feel.
Yeah, no, and I've always had a fascination with the, gunpowder, stars, fireworks in the sky scenario. And so I think he kind of connected the dots and said, Betty, this looks like you. And then, of course, there's vino in Italy, which is kind of interesting because, yes, there is vino in Italy. And I've designed many a wine label, some splashy. One is called La Gioia, so the joy of drinking, and one has actually a name called Anna. So I've designed many a wine label along the way, but I'm not a big wine drinker. So tonight, just to show you, different color, it looks like a Tizer or something crazy, but it's called the Crodino, just to be very Italian, aperitivo hour. This is what it is. It's not alcoholic, but it has like a spicy sweetness to it. So cheers to everybody. Grazie for joining.
Well, and also I just want to show, because these are beautiful as well in terms of how they've designed. We've got little wine charms that you can attach to your glass, so you don't get it. Oh, it's getting blurry.
I know when I oh, really? Is that what you can do? You can attach them.
You can put them on your wine glass, and then you know which one's yours. But you can also, they're just rather gorgeous and cute.
I'm going to try that. I didn't realize. I thought they were just giant paper clips.
Well, they will work like that too.
Let me have a look at that. Stop it. That's so chic.
I know. Right, and then if you're at a party, you know which one is yours, unless everybody has an Esterbrook wine charm, in which case. In
which case, best friends forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. It's like find your find your gem, your twin of a gem. Yeah, so this was brilliant. So I thought it would be interesting for everyone to see how this packaging came about. Initially, they didn't know. They knew they wanted to call it cosmic because it had the stardust and the brilliance. But we toyed for a long time with swirl. It was going to be a cosmic swirl, which I rather loved, I must say. But then the wine color took over as well. And so they were like, come on, let's do a cosmic wine. It has stars and the wine color. So we worked on that. So let me see if you're at all interested. Is everyone just truly mesmerized and no one wants to answer a question, ask a question yet?
I think not. Well, I haven't managed to get into chat yet. I will get there. We'll see what questions we have.
That's it. I'll just keep going. So as you can see, I've actually always had a fascination. These are paper clips. I've always had a fascination for starry things. So the idea that Esterbrook did these beautiful paper clips made me very happy, because I have actually won many a job because of the details. Sometimes that you send packages out and the details are what make the difference. So that's rather wonderful. And I've also always had a fascination for nighttime. This is some tissue paper that I designed for myself, actually, and I've written in big swooshy writing, nighttime, notte tempo, and stars, obviously. So this fascination, it was such a part of me that I thought, well, yes, please, can we make a cosmic wine collaboration, which would be rather wonderful. So I went digging around and I found the original. This is how the creative process for me starts. So I'm going to just come back to you a second, because I think it might be interesting. So being in Florence is a very inspirational place. I often, when I'm doing my work, I have an inspirational place to do a space. I have a book called Inspired. Everything is about inspiration and what you do with it, because it's actually sometimes not enough just to be inspired. It's wonderful if you are, but that usually means there has to be some motion to the emotions. You have to let it out somehow, right? And I'm in the best place. I'm in Florence, where Galileo Galilei in 1610 figured out that the earth moves around the sun, right? Until then, the whole history of mankind had thought that earth was at the center of everything and God was around that, and that all the other planets moved around us. So I love that he was tried for heresy, and so to save his skin, he said, okay, I agree, I was lying. But as he left the court case, he was heard to utter "E pur si muove," which in Italian means, let me see if I can write this out for you. And yet it moves, and yet the sun and the earth, and yet they move. So the idea of moving, and this is our creative purpose, it is to move and be moved. Right, that is what creative purpose is all about, and so that's how inspiration works. We inspire each other, we are inspired by something, and we do something about it. So when I was looking at the Cosmic Wine packaging, I started swishing, and then wonderful thing happens, which is what my whole creative process is about, which are, you know, perfectly imperfect magical happenings. So things started splashing around as ink, and so that's what I scanned in. I always do everything by hand first. I've never used Procreate in my life. I see it on other people, and I love that, but I always love having ink on my fingers, and so I go looking for it. So, and I often leave whatever happens naturally. I scan it in Photoshop and I position it. Being a graphic designer, I use Illustrator, and so then I started positioning this, and I was doing this. I don't know if you can tell what this is. Let me show you what that is. The idea was wine. So I thought, well, how about doing a wine glass full of fantastic cosmicness? So I thought, well, when you see a wine glass from above, you kind of see the top and you see the inside, and then you see the bottom bit. So I just started drawing these circles, and I'll reveal to everyone that I cannot draw. I came to graphic design late, and so from a weakness of never having learned how to draw, I compensated with a strength of calligraphy and typography. So never say never. So I always try and stylize things. I'm never very good at being very artistic, but more literal anyway. And then I started playing with words. You know, wine comes from the vine. There's wine. There's divine. I love playing with words. I think words speak to us a lot. So then playing with that, I tried to see if there was a way of putting cosmic wine within a wine glass. Does that work? Does it not? What happens? Can the C become an M? You know, it's all about playing. What about the C? What's happening with that? What does cosmic mean? It's, you know, it's all starry. And then I played with some vines and grapes, which actually appear in the washi tape, which you haven't mentioned.
I didn't mention, Betty, and you did ask me to. And we're hoping, we're just waiting for confirmation that we've got some that we can give away, because it is beautiful.
It is rather beautiful. It's all shimmery and shiny. It has cosmic wine. It has this little bit of Este, which I will show you. And this one's all about cheers, cheers, cosmic wine. Is the other one. This one is the one I love.
And also, actually, one of the, whilst you're holding that up, and I know I'm small on screen, but one of the little charms is the bunch of grapes as well. I don't know.
It is exactly bravissima. So let me see if I can show people that. It has the little jump.
Oh, lovely. Yes, thanks.
There it is. So that's how. So I love how design works. It's so thrillingly immediate that you play on paper as much as possible with things, and then they become products, they become real, something happens to them. So I love that this has all the calligraphy on it. Let me see if I can find where I wrote this. Oh yeah, hold on, I have lots of pieces of paper. Okay, so
whilst you're hunting, can I just interrupt you with a question that's actually from me? Has your handwriting always been beautiful?
No. Well, yes, ish. I mean, I wrote. I'll show people my face, because I always think it's quite nice to also show face. I'm not a journaling queen. I never journal now. I don't have time. I'm very good at doing projects, or real projects instead. But I do have lots and lots of my notebooks where I used to write feelings and thoughts and diaries, you know, with, you know, heart-shaped dotting eyes, you know, in your teenage years and beyond. So I've always had this love of writing, but it hasn't always been beautiful. And can I just say how it changes all the time, every day. It depends what the moon's doing. If I'm hungry, if I'm angry, it totally shows. I've come today from writing almost 300 invitations for Chanel. And if I look at the first ones that I did and the end of the day ones, it's like, oh, 2 different people have been here. Because at the beginning you're a little bit cold, you're a bit rusty, and you tighten up. And then by the end, they're flowing and you're into it all. And so I love just noticing that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having a human expression. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Otherwise, go to computers, they make brilliant things, step and repeat, copy and repeat. So play, I always think, try and make sure. For a long time I was working in the fashion industry in London, and I was once trying to do something for Tom Ford, and they were coming back saying, can you make it look more like type when you write? And I just kept saying, but why? Type is beautiful. Go for the type. Why should I, by hand, try to make it look as though it's done by machine? So
Love
That's
that.
always been my ethos, has been the more expressive, the better. And then
Great.
it's not just having your own style, it's what you then do with it. It's getting an audience that understands the value of that. And I think that's a very interesting, maybe for another time, but the idea of the value that's given to creativity. And there's a lot of similar styles of calligraphy, because that's something that's trying to be achieved, but no one can actually be you, because it's what you do with it. In the same way that, like you said at the beginning, so this is a wonderful cosmic wine. Let me get it out. I don't really know anything about pens. People always ask on my Instagram often say, which nib is this and what make is that? And I'm like, I have no idea a lot of the time. For me, pens have always been a magic wand. So they are in your hands and the magic is in your hands. It's what you do with it. And of course, the type of magic wand really does distinguish what magic happens. But I've tried really bad pens, but right, I mean, but I once was asked to speak and bring to life a lesson for like 100 art students here in Italy, and they were, they're in their 16, 17 sort of teenage years, very unfazed by anything. They arrived in this classroom, they put their rucksacks on the table, the body language was all like this. What are we doing today? How boring is this? So I thought, right, what do I do? And I showed them, I wrote the most beautiful, flourished, fantastic swear words on the blackboard to get their attention. And they kind of all sat up and went, oh my God. And I was like, yeah, all you need is a biro and a piece of paper and you have power. And so they kind of thought, whoa. And I think that's what we forget. Everyone's always looking for something bigger, brighter, better, with lots of, dollar signs probably. But actually, it's about what you do with what you have. And so this is a beautiful poetic pen. I love that sparkle, and I love the weight of it. I love that it sort of clicks beautifully. Yeah. And those are the things that I like, but I don't know anything else technical wise. It's like the shampoo commercials, right? When they say, here comes the science bit, know it's there, it's taken, and I want to honor that all that attention has been put into it. I also love that Esterbrook is a very historical, look at this, I got sent all these original advertising sheets.
Oh, they're beautiful.
The different pens. Beautiful.
There's a lot of heritage with the brand.
Exactly.
Yes, lovely. Yeah.
I love that. So, being a lover of everything that's historical and heritage and true and authentic, brilliant that they have that. And once upon a time, it was a lot about, tell me more about the pen. But it says, write with the pen that writes your way naturally. So that's it. That pen is just sitting there waiting for you to interact, right? It can be a fantastic object, but it's what you do with it.
Love that.
Okay, so
we've just had someone ask, but I know you're going back to the grape on your inspiration. Someone's asking to show again the swirl and how you did the swirl. Don't know if you can do it slowly or whether it's so natural for you.
How I did the actual word swirl.
I think the swirl, yeah.
The cosmic wine one. Well, why don't we do some together? How about that?
That would be lovely.
So let me use. Sorry, let's use, I have this wonderful bone to pick with Brian. I don't know if you can see all this, everyone. So there's this wonderful pouch that comes with some things I've been sent that he asked me to write one day. Just write this, Betty, everything's better with ink. I'm like, oh, sure. And then I love that I get to see it here. Can you see there's the wine glass from the top? Get out of, but I don't know, I've never noticed this, because someone asked me which on one of the videos that I did, which colored ink have you used? And I'm like, oh, let me have a look. And I'm like, I have no idea. It doesn't have a name on it once it's out of its packaging. So Brian, I have a new wonderful proposal for you, a lovely packaging design that I can do, or a label.
Lovely.
Right, just so I know. Okay, so perfect. Let's see, let's do the dark blue so you can see. So I don't know how many of you want to play with me. When I write, I know there's pump actions, there's fillers, there's all sorts of things. I always just dip. I feel a bottle is there waiting for us to be interactive with it, just like the page is screaming for us to sort of play with it. Let's have a look. So we can play together. I start sometimes, oh, love it, look, it's doing that already. It's quite nice to sort of go quite fast sometimes when you're trying to do something. if you do it fast, you don't think about it too much. It's very instinctive, and it goes on a subconscious layer of ourselves, of our being. When I sometimes do things that are too thought through, that's when I make mistakes, or it looks a bit too forced. So this is my pad of paper. This is my and yet it moves. Okay, I'm going to redo that, and yet it moves. When I write, I don't really know where I'm going to go. I let it be. So I wrote and yet it moves again, and I did it differently because there I created a space for the moves, and here I didn't really do it, but the T was already crossed before. So with the cosmic, once I'd sort of done the cosmic, here it is, I tried, I don't know if you can see that. I did the C and the M joined, and I'd gotten to that just looking at the letters. And then the C at the end carried on the swirl. So let's do some of that. So if we create a C and an M, knowing it's coming, and then the C does the swirl. And so I really wanted it to all be part of one, because cosmic, it has black holes and it has a swoosh. And so then I did sort of add, I think, some little stars, as I usually do, maybe some swirls. Where possible, add real stars in your life. It makes everything so much better.
Oh, that looks great.
But so that was the cosmic. That's how it came to be. And like I said at the beginning, it was the cosmic wine. And then I put swirl just in case. And there's a swirl that I then actually did scan in and use and see. But in the end, we chose wine instead. And that's what's on the packaging. And then I looked at lots of sort of words. There's another swirl that I think I used. That described wine. So things like character, and there's another cosmic, and fruitiness and richness, the bouquet, the floral. So this is how I usually do. I just do lots of them, and then I'll choose one with a little cross. I love the idea of ruby red wine. I'll choose one and I scan that in and I use it. So here we go. There was a little corkscrew, and I was trying to get, let me see if I can do that. I was trying to get sort of corkscrew idea, and this being the E of Esterbrook.
Oh yes, I see.
So it's, but you know, you just try that. So yeah, I think, yeah. It's similarly, when I was trying to draw some wine glass, thinking, can the ST be a part of the stem? Like I said, I can't draw, so it's all different types of illustrations. Look at that, I've just made cosmic splatter. I love that.
I do like an ink splatter though.
I love the idea of cosmic mistakes, because they're sort of unrepeatable and you know, unique. They're like Rosh Hashanah, you know, those amazing. Can you see what's in the folds? Okay, so that was the cosmic. I'm hoping that was the question that I've answered.
I think so. If not, I'm sure we'll get more questions about the technique, because I think the way you're showing it is quite fast, and I guess if you slow down, you're going to get a completely different result in terms of how you were talking about. It's better. It's sometimes better to go fast.
Yes, so I always urge people. So let's say, okay, let's do this with a glass of whatever everyone is drinking. I've got my crazy luminous something or other going on here. So let's say it's doing beautiful shadows with my windows out there. So let's say we're just sipping a glass of wine. Sip, sip. It's a bit like hip, hip, hooray. But, and hey, cheers. So I would probably be a bit festive with the cheers, but sip, sip, sip. You're just sipping gently. But what if you really want to guzzle down a bit of the wine?
It's such a good word.
And you can see it going down the throat there, can't you? It's like glug, 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 glug. You're glugging. I mean, look at that. You know, a glug has so many G's. Hold on. Sorry, I'm out of sight. But then
there we go. Perfect.
So you're glugging and guzzling, and you're sipping just very gently. So that's how you start understanding the power of words, and more than anything, how words speak. And this is something that I do a lot in my, what I call experiences, which are actually sort of workshops, but they usually have themes. So it's very much about shouting on paper, and how do we convey that? And a lot of the time you kind of go over letters many times. And it's about the emotion, and you probably want to shout a bit as well while you're doing it, because we speak words with our head, because they're thoughts. We speak them with our mouths as we literally speak, and we speak with them on paper. So sometimes we could just do little tiny whispers instead. And so I go through this whole process of, can you reconnect with the power of words? And that's the wordsmith in me, is how does one word lead to another, and can we play with it? And more than anything, can we, especially with calligraphy, can we take note of it? It's about taking note of it, which is, of course, noticing. It's all about noticing what happens. And look, maybe if I was doing this and maybe scanning this, I would probably just take this through, so that then that's already crossed the T from the N, clean that up a little bit, and you've got a beautiful word that's sort of done something magical. But it all asks for you. It asks for your, very cosmically, it asks for your intervention. There you go, we're into the cosmos again. Perfect. What else?
I love it. So do you find, someone was asking a question about the advantages and disadvantages of writing with a larger size pen, because the Cosmic Wine is a larger size. Do you prefer that, or is it? I know
as in
not really about the
barrel,
pen. Yeah. So it's slightly that's an oversized. So it's slightly larger.
Slightly chunky. No, I rather love it. I think I mean, a lot of the time when I write, I always begin things with the pencil. I find pencil friendly and soft, and I love the sound it makes. It's sort of non-committal. By the time you're into ink, you mean business. Write it till you mean it. But there are also things that happen, with ink pens that you can't really do with anything else. I love quite a big pen. I have some bigger pens. I love flexible nibs. This one's beautiful. It's not flexible, but it carries the ink really well. Actually, I have a couple of others. I was introduced, before I got this one, I was introduced with these ones instead. These are beautiful. One's the color of Florence, which I love, the purple one, and then this beautiful one, which was so I mean, and again, very sparkly. Yeah. And let's just try this one. It's a different pen nib, still got some black ink. I don't really like writing with thin very much as far as pens. I like ones that are visible, that you can see what's going on. So for me, it's such a personal, it's all about being personal, isn't it? A personal preference. It's really like food. Writing is like food. You like it thin, dark, light. There are days I like it like this. Sometimes I want to try writing really badly with my left hand, just because it gives me some respite. Hurrah, look at that. Sometimes there's pressure to always sort of perform, but who for? No? So to write badly is like, oh yeah, sometimes I write my shopping list badly, because it's very satisfying not to write well. Weirdly. And you know what? It's still me. And I think that's a very interesting part of me that I haven't really met a lot. So I get people to write with their left hands, or I get them to write with their eyes closed, and see how that feels. For me, writing is all about feeling. What else? I also have sent some wateriness, because sometimes I do love a bit of water. I've never used water. What happens if you do? Oh, you see, you splodge over it. Oh, that's rather lovely. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, people are much better than me at doing this, but sometimes it's just experimenting. Sometimes not knowing is an incredible strength, because that's how you discover new things. And this is a little bit the same. Oh, I love how it's all doing bonkers things. And I love also losing control on things, letting it be. I have a very fun, let's see if I can find it in my text.
And someone's asked, you may not know the answer, but do you know what nib you've got on that pen?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Just making magic while I'm talking. Hold on, let me.
I love that. I'll let you keep going with the magic.
Can I do I need to do any more? Look at this, it's all happening. We've got Cosmic Galaxy on my desk. I have no idea what pen is that. Hold on. Does it say on the package? Oh yeah, it does. Hold on. Gold trim FP? No.
Fountain pen, and it should say, it'll say
It's an M.
M. You got a medium. Okay.
Medium oversized sparkle butter. So does that mean this is bigger, that's oversized, the actual?
Yes, that's the pen, the barrel, yeah.
Yeah.
And the medium is the nib. Love it. And are you using any, I'm loving the colours that are coming through. Are you using any particular paper? Do you have a paper that you use?
No, I've just only recently had a lovely pad made by my printer here in Florence that has Othello, who's about 99, and somebody else. I like going to old-fashioned people. This is my notepad, and I've decided that with all my experiences, I should actually get people to write on them. And so some people were saying, what is that lovely ink color? Well, actually, it's not. It's printed. And this is my mantra a little bit, that it's all written in the stars, right? This is whatever's meant to be is meant to be, and it's in the stars. So it just happens to be very cosmic anyway. And I rather love that I have a pad of white paper, just normal paper, and then at the back I have some black sheets, because I always love, and I think we should do it, splodging is something that's not. So this is a rather beautiful, I don't know if you saw this, the Winsor & Newton, I rather love it.
Yeah.
And so it has that wonderful bubblicious, let's try doing a cosmic swirl here. We could just do a cosmos, couldn't we? And there's something very beautiful about playing with dark colored paper, because it's the negative. It's we never really look at things like that. It's always about us writing pens and inks on a white. And so if you just tap, 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 we can create a bit of a cosmos happening. And I love this Winsor & Newton ink, because it bubbles. You probably can't see that here, but it sort of bubbles. It's incredible. It's alive like Mercury. Let's
love that.
Here we go. So again, you're just tapping on your brush, and you can't really control it, and there's such a freedom to that. And always give a little sparkle to everything along the way. We've created our own cosmos. Here we go. While we're at it, I guess it's a bit of a swirl. We're in it. Yes. There we go. So, I mean, the word cosmos is so rounded, isn't it? It has that C and the O and the softer S and a beautiful M. I mean, it's just lends itself. See, there's a question now. What do I do with all the paper? Does she ask? Is that true? Is that what she's asking?
Yeah, what do you do with all the paper that you've illustrated or inked on?
Would you like to receive this? I'll send it to you. No, I have the most amazing friends that some of you probably know, and they're called 2x2 creators. Let me see if I can get something. Hold on 1 second. So they're called 2x2 creators and Edition Pochette. And basically, I often just pile up some of my printed items, and they make fantastic things with them. So these are some invitations that I illustrated, and they've made little leaves out of them. And it's a very Danish thing. They're Danish twins. Let's see if I can get something here. Great question. Oh, have I gone? I'm back. Oh, sorry. There you go. I'm back. I have drawers and drawers full of paper, because I do lots and lots of trials. And they came in one day and said, can we cut these up? And so I have lots of their wonderful magic paper things, probably not here. I also have other wonderful panucha. Other people send me creations that they make with paper. I have Rita and Violet, she's another one. She's made sparkly, amazing things. So I love that we kind of inspire each other, like I said at the beginning, that they see that I do one thing and they make something else out of it. And so that paper has another life. It's cut up and made into wonderful, fantastic things. So I love that I get to keep everything as much as possible. And then I see them and I hand them over, and they stitch paper and they cut paper all by hand. So it definitely gets moved around the earth.
That's great. What a brilliant idea. What's that? Say the name of the
so they're called
people that you...
Okay, I'll write it down for you, so then you know.
Ah,
so
perfect.
Always better, write it down. It's a memory thing. So they're called at 2x2 creators. So my initial friends were called Edition Pochette. Let me see if and then now they've moved on to become a trio, a wonderful trio. Okay, here we go. There's So the Edison Pochette, these twins, and I wrote all over. They are lovely. There's Anna, there's writing. Yes, they're rather wonderful. So this is an amazing opportunity for me to say one of the most important things that I can. Hold on, I'm going to write it with this one. Where possible, just change, collaborate. There's a definite we're stronger together vibe, because we give each other ideas, and someone sees what you think is nothing. It's a piece of paper that's had something written on it. I'm going to throw it away. Someone else sees it as an amazing opportunity to do something with it. So the idea of collaborating, of exchanging, of the inspiring, everything about inspiring each other and moving, no? The whole idea that we move each other is really important. So
I love that.
Yeah. In fact, I had a friend come recently, and she saw my studio, and she knows all about me, and she's a jewelry designer, and she made this for me. So because I said, I don't really wear rings, and she was like, what about something on your hand? So I thought that was rather magnificent. It's a Milanese. Can you see? I love the idea that
that's
you're holding.
Lovely. And how
So
unusual.
Yes.
Beautiful.
So she was, it's a handful. I know I always talk about having a handful of stars. Literally, I have a handful of stars here. So that's rather marvelous. Isn't that clever? Adjustable. Might go into production of that with her.
Yeah, I think that might be a good idea. Starting a trend for a new piece of jewellery.
Jewellery. There you go, while we're at it. So I think a little bit like space, I love to think that what I do is limitless, which begs the question, if people are sort of doing things while they're listening to me rant on. I love trying sometimes writing in capitals, going down in vertical. The idea of limitless space. How about that? Look. Because we always write like that, if you start writing vertically, you start looking at letters individually as different funny little things. And you start noticing where there are opportunities for something magical to happen. Whereas when we write normally, because our habit is so strong of how we do things, we never really change it. So this idea of perhaps writing just trains of thought, and even without punctuation, words that sort of collide, a little bit like meteors. How about some meteor showers? Just not even thinking, it's the action of doing it differently that kind of opens up our perceptiveness. Keep writing. And then occasionally I might bring in some kind of swishiness, like these S's that I rather love changing, or how about a flourish? And so that's just something about trying things differently. It opens up our style. You know, it's how I've gone from, for many years, I had a G like this, and then I did a G like this, and then I started doing a G like this, and then I do it like this. Sometimes I go up. It's the evolution of man.
I love it. Someone's just said that they're finding it so inspiring, because I think it's that they haven't said this. I'm putting words in their mouth, but I'm watching you and thinking I should just give this a go. It's the free form of it, and I know you talk, you know, the happy mistakes that come from that as well can sometimes be the best part.
We're a society that's been taught to control, so we're meant to study to become something, and when you're doing that in a job, whatever you are being controlled, or you try and have control over what happens. So when I get people to do these experiences with me, it's very much, they think they're coming to do calligraphy, which must be about finding a shape and doing that over, and it's not, I mean, not with me. It's about the letting go part and seeing what happens, because we have creativity, whatever form that takes, within us. And if you're curious about being creative, then there's already that flow that's happening within you, and then you're your own worst judge. You know, mine's not very good when people come to me, and it's like, well, what's good? Did you see my splotch? You know, but I didn't make it, you know, I didn't make it happen how I wanted it to be. I didn't control it. I let it happen. And look, happen, you know, there's a pen that you have to happen. You have to let go of it to make it happen. And so for me, I've understood, it's taken me a long time to understand that letting go is much harder than controlling. So you can do many drills, and you can you know, try, it's like having wild calligraphy and type everywhere, and you're trying to control it and make it be how it should be. And for me, it's not the shoulds, it's the what ifs. So if I let myself go, let's see what happens. And that less control is when the magic happens. Like I said at the beginning, I don't know when I write a lot of the time how it's going to turn out. And that's what keeps it incredibly interesting for me. And what's really changed everything for me is that I've gone from page to windows and mirrors and writing on different formats and mediums. And so then you're just surprised and it's enjoyable. And then you come back to paper and you still have that sort of starry-eyed vision of writing.
I was about to say, do you always come back to pen and paper?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it's a first love. It's truly a first love, like, which you never forget, as they say.
Yes.
and you kind of, but maybe you have different memories of it when you come back to it. And like I said, then there's just the discovery of it, and there's the evolution of it and the change of it. You know, we're taught how to write at school, and we always think writing is about homework or work, or that's who I am, but we're not. We've evolved, we've changed. So if you give it the time and the space and the joy, then it gives it back to you. That's the amazing thing. And you know, I'm always amazed. It's you. You've got the power to just keep going at it, and you get progress, whatever that means. You get, even if it's just about being freer or looser, and it's not about what does it look like, but how does it feel? Oh, it feels nice to be back on the page. Yeah.
And it sounds like for you that's definitely evolved over time.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people come up to me like, oh, you're a calligrapher, or you work with type of words or whatever. Oh, that's so nice. Nobody writes anymore. And I look at them and I say, what are you talking about? Everyone writes a lot. We're typing away the whole time between phones and computers. And they forget that that's words, but it's just because they haven't come from their hand, they're very throwaway and they're very deletable and they don't really give much value. I did so many invitations today, I ache, but that's fantastic. I love feeling physically that I've been writing a lot. And so there's a physicality to writing, right? You're sitting down, it's head, heart, hand, and you're just expressing yourself.
Love that. And someone's actually asked a slightly different question, but about the colour. But I think that might have been, I think the colour of the pen has come from the wine inspiration. But I think the question was probably trying to figure out just how the colour was produced. It's probably more of a question.
Yeah, the colour of, there you go, better.
Yeah.
Yes, this is lovely. I don't know. I'd have to ask Brian or this.
Yeah,
but it is.
We'll find out for you and share that with everybody in terms of the process. It is beautiful, and I think it does have some diamond dust in there, which is what makes it sparkle.
Come on. So there you go. Putting it in my hair like an accessory, like a little piece of jewelry.
I love that.
How else can I entertain everybody?
And I wanted to ask a question about just a little bit about your process, because what you're doing is so freeform, so expressive, is beautiful. So when you're working to a design brief, or even if doing the cosmic wine packaging, how do you then, even if you start with pencil, do you then hone, do you then polish, do you then practice, repeat, layer, or actually do you stick with kind of some of the free form? How does the process work for you?
Okay, so that's a really good question. So let me see if I can show everybody. Not too many things going on. So the most important thing when I'm designing, apart from the content, is I think of the design. So I'm incredibly, and this goes perfectly with the cosmic name, I'm very spatially aware. So I love when you're looking at something, how are you going to use your space? So what you write is as important as the space that you leave around it. So when I was designing the packaging, because I did everything, I did the elements, and then I had this flat pack, this whole thing was flat packed, it was opened up, and I thought, well, what's it going to say on this edge, and what's it going to look like on this side? And I don't know, I guess I just wanted this whole overlay. idea. So a lot of it, like I said, is instinct, right? So it's really instinct, if we really want to play with the word. So the idea of something that's instinctive for me is because I have experience. And you can get experience, yes, by doing a lot of projects, and yes, it's years of whatever, but it's also cultivating your own culture, you know, your own curiosity. So the idea of something that's curiosity. So for me, like I said, it's curiosity, playing the part. So like I said, let's see if I can be moved by things. See what else I found here. So I really wanted to do this with some people. So one of the things that I love most about playing, here, hold on. I love tracing paper as well. It's a very nice medium to sort of, as you say, layer things. And what I did here was I started by drawing. Let me move the curiosity splodge. Because I can't draw, I like to simplify. I drew the outline of a glass, and then I started sort of writing around it. I thought that might be rather beautiful too. And I love this. These are called, a beautiful name, which is calligrams. They're really ancient. The Arabics use them a lot, which is to illustrate calligrams. So you illustrate with words. So even here, as you can see, I was trying to fill the wine glass with cosmic wine sparkle fountain pen Esti. And the E at the bottom was like the pedestal of the glass. So it just went through that way. It was just trying to bring to life the idea, because they're quite difficult. You know, one is liquidy wine, you know, savored on the lips, and the other is this huge cosmic thing that's going on. But it is sometimes that it's, look at that, it's drying now, that they kind of, like I said, this is like if you swoosh a glass. Let me see if I can, you know, if you swoosh, let's see if I can, you know, you've got the whole cosmos in a glass. And that's what I don't know, it's very hard for me to explain. I mean, all creative processes are so personal, like the taste of pens or food or wine. You know, someone's fresh bouquet is another's, oh, I don't like the smell of that, or, you know, the taste of that wine. It's so personal. So again, in some ways, it's just cultivating your own curiosity, and sometimes going against. So that's why I was saying sometimes writing with your left hand, or we're not always just looking for beauty. It's important to notice it, but go against it. It's like having dark and light. You know, you need the darkness for the stars. Sometimes you have to have the contrast between things. So if anyone's creating out there, sometimes it's just really nice to sort of go the other way to how you've always done it and see how that feels and where does it take you. And it's usually really uncomfortable. And for me, because otherwise you're in your comfort zone, right? The usual. But creativity is where you can go, you know, somewhere a bit crazy. And otherwise you're just doing more of what's already been done or what you've always done. And it's just how do you kind of go past that. But a lot of the time, you know, I've been very lucky. I've been guided by people, or like I said, inspired by things. I live in Florence, for God's sake, which isn't always a positive thing. You know, in some ways, there's so much art here, you're kind of feeling like, I'm not making my mark here at all. But you know, how Florence came to be, this Renaissance amazingness, was a change of perception, of thought, where until the 1500s, until the Renaissance, it was always about, you know, God controls and you as man will do what you're supposed to do. And then Renaissance thinking, humanist thinking, was about, but I have a universe within me, talking about cosmicness. And so I can express that. So that's what we all have, our purpose, to express who we are and how we are.
I love that. And someone's just asked, I don't know if you can even answer this, your greatest source of inspiration. That's like the impossible question, isn't it?
Exactly.
A good one, but I think it's a tricky one.
I think there's definitely in the last few years a certain self-reliance, and I literally was saying it, the fact that we have it within us. So much of us, especially in the world that we live in, is looking outwards. It's the Instagrams, it's the websites, what is everyone else doing? And, you know, our eyes, if we close our eyes, a lot of the time we see darkness and specks inside of our heads. And so we have so much within us. and we always forget it's always about more, and you know, got to be more, got to do more. And it's actually, I think these last few years, this sort of stillness kind of for me taught me that I had a lot. My creativity dried up during COVID. I could do nothing. I couldn't, you know, I did yoga mostly. That was it. I couldn't do anything creative. But the minute the world reopened, it just flowed. So obviously I just sort of left it. Yeah. So, and it's been, you know, big guzzling since. A big
but you stressed collaboration earlier, and I wonder whether there's just something about that has then reignited some energy for you.
Absolutely. I think it's also how you perceive that, whether it's, oh no, look, they've done something, or I wish I had, or I wish I could do it like you, or you change that around and you say, okay, you can do it like that. What if I try that? And then that's how the collaborations, like I say, one of the things that I really wished for a few years ago was doing a lot of design work for other clients for what they needed, for what they wanted. And I really wished hard that I would love to do some more design projects where they were asking for me to be me for them. And that's definitely what's happened right now. And that's the collaboration side of it is, okay, but you're about this, and this is how you like to think or like to do. And I try to, and I have a style that's very recognizable, but I also love making things much more bespoke for clients. And I look at their values and what are they trying to say and how do we say it? And it's not always calligraphic. There's a lot of type or content or theme or meaning to things. Yeah.
Love that.
I think I've talked enough, haven't I? For people.
I think we're probably coming to a close, but I think we could probably just open the wine and carry on for the whole evening. But we did say to everybody about an hour, and you hinted at the beginning, but there's potentially more collaboration with Esterbrook to come. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Don't say anything you shouldn't, because Brian will tell us both off. Yes. Okay.
But no, it's and that's it. That's the beautiful thing about partnerships. And I know my lovely friend Deborah did a beautiful package for them. Look, there you go. She's an illustrator.
Oh, beautiful. Yes, that's the Nouveau Blue, isn't it? Yeah. Yes.
So I would never even think of doing something like that. So I love that everyone gets called in, and I love that Esterbrook are open to collaborating with lots of different artists. It's not just a set style, and I think that's very clever and generous.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Betty. That was
thank you to everyone.
I think we're getting lots of messages, and I think everyone is loving it because they just loved to understand your creativity and the inspiration. And I think I've been just sort of doodling as you've been going through. But I think that the message of that the happy mistake and just to try, because I think often we don't try. We're so paralyzed by not doing it right, or particularly with the traditional styles and having, you're trying to learn a form, and I think you're so free form. It's just find what's in you. I think that's an amazing message. So thank you.
I think it's the hardest thing is managing expectations. Otherwise you go in and expecting it to be, and then you're always disappointed. But if you don't have those and you let it be, and then go, one of my favorite, I remember living in London, one of my favorite adverts was the flake ad. I don't know if you remember this. There's this girl in that field of flowers, and she went painting, and then suddenly it started raining, and she's like, oh, she ate the flake, and she turned her canvas around and it had all kind of dribbled, and she thought, yeah. And for me, I think that's my life mantra. It's like you go in, of course, knowing what you're doing, and you studied or you worked or whatever, so you have a sense of self and what people need, or a client, or any of that. But be open to turning the canvas around, and maybe that's a better thing.
Love that. Thank you so much. That's amazing. I hope everyone is feeling inspired. If you are, and you go off and decide to be creative, and you write something, draw something, we would love to see what you do. We would love to see that. So please share. Now you can follow. I'm sure you're all following Betty already, but just search on whatever your social media channel of choice is for Betty Soldi, and it will all appear, or you can go to Betty's website as well. And we always love to see your creations, and if you're happy to, we love to share them as well. So we've got a hashtag Cult Pens Creative, so please do share any creative moments, whatever form they come in. We love to see that. So thank you very much again. Amazing. We will share the recording, so if anyone has missed anything or wants to share it with anyone else, or just watch again, then that will be shared in the next few days. And we just encourage you all to go off and explore your own creativity.